OpenAI have just released the brand new ChatGPT5 with a bunch of new features. And in today's video, we're going to be walking through exactly what these changes are, what it means to the mass majority of people using ChatGPT, as well as to those pro users as well, but also my thoughts on what could be driving this change behind the scenes as well. So what is ChatGPT5 and how has it changed? Well, starting off, you'll remember that we had lots and lots of different models. We had ChatGPT 4.0, 3, 4.1, 4.1 mini, 4.0 mini, we had 4.0 mini high, we had mini, nano, basically for everything. What we've done now is consumed all of those into ChatGPT5, and it's intelligent enough to be able to understand the request you have and then best be able to produce that output. So, for example, if you ask it a nice, simple question, it's likely to use a quick response. Think more your previous models of ChatGPT 4.0 or 4.0 mini. But now what we're looking at is it also has the ability to think, okay, if this is a more complex answer, we're going to use something like an O3 model in the response that we're going to go back. So now we've got the power of all of these models into one umbrella. But who can use it? Well, if you caught the keynote, you probably saw that ChatGPT5 is now available for all users. But what does this really mean? Well, if we start with the free tier, you're going to be able to send 10 messages every 5 hours. So yes, you can access it for free, but it's very limited use. If we look at the plus tier, so this is one step up, that's your $20 a month. You're looking at around 80 messages every 3 hours. If you're going up to the Pro plan or the Teams plan, this is where you're going to have unlimited access to ChatGPT5 as long as you follow the guardrails that they have in place there. So a slight nuance on who actually has access to this. What are some of the release notes that we're going to be covering today? Well, we're going to go through exactly what is covered in ChatGPT5 and how it compares to both ChatGPT 4.1 as well as Opus from Claude. We saw that they're actually going to be depreciating some of the old models, so that's totally normal for this. What it means is it's going to stop the use of like ChatGPT 4.0 and shift everything onto ChatGPT5. All of your old conversations as well, they're going to stay readily accessible in your account. But what it's going to do is shift it from if it was on a ChatGPT 4.0 conversation model onto ChatGPT5 for every conversation point there on after. We also got 4 brand new personalities that came through, and we can now go through and do some personalization with some accent colors in the actual chat interface as well. So let's go through and test them out and see exactly how they're performing and what the big difference is. So to access it, there's 2 different ways. You can come across to the OpenAI website. I'll include the link below so it's nice and easy to find, and just do try in ChatGPT. As you can see here, it will show you the ChatGPT brand new interface here, and you can go through it and use it nice and easily straight away. We know it's using ChatGPT5 because as you can see at the top, we're using that ChatGPT5 flagship model. They've also got the Thinking and the Pro if you've upgraded to some of the higher tier accounts. The difference between the normal and the thinking is just more of that deep reasoning to provide that response back. The other way to access it is through the OpenAI playground. So if we come across, as we can see here, I'll include the link below so it's nice and easy to find. It's got all of the details here as well as the pricing for more of that API element instead. And you can just come up, press try in playground, and it will take you through so that you can go through and do a new conversation as you need it in here. And this is what we're going to be testing out today to see how it performs. So the first case we're going to go through today is just that traditional writing an email to a stakeholder. So as you can see there, we're going to send this off. I've also got Claude and ChatGPT 4.0 in the background ready to go so we can compare some of the responses. We'll also change this to Opus 4.1, so we're using that latest model to compare it against. So, what was the response that we got back from ChatGPT5? Dear stakeholder name, I hope you're well. I wanted to follow up regarding the specific deliverable name, project name. This deliverable is critical dependency for the next phase. Any delays could affect our ability. To ensure we remain on track, I'd like to align with you on a revised and realistic completion date. Based on current progress, I propose setting new deadline as the target for finalizing this deliverable. This gives us the time needed for quality review and integration into the wider product plan. As we can see there, I won't read the rest, but I quite like the way it's almost got the variables included. I also think that tonality sounds a lot better as well, from a more natural conversation versus the more stereotypical OpenAI responses to date. But at the bottom, we can also see that hyphen, which is normally a clear giveaway that it's going to be a ChatGPT response. If we compare it to how it sounded from previous ones, on the left-hand side here, we can see that 4.0 response. Hi, stakeholder, I wanted to follow up regarding the deliverable name for the project name, which is currently impacting our ability to move forwards with the next phase. I fully appreciate that completing priorities and unexpected demands can arise, and I want to ensure we're aligned on how best to progress. So as we can see that overall, I think it's going to be very similar to the one that we had before, but it sounds a little bit more conversational, and we're going to touch on that a bit later on, why I think they've made this change. If we compare it to a response from Claude, we can see that it says, dear stakeholder name, still got that variable in there as well. I hope this message finds you well. I'm reaching out to discuss the deliverable component of project, which plays a critical role in our overall project timeline. I understand that complex deliverables often encounter unforeseen challenges, and I appreciate the effort that your team has invested thus far. As we approach relevant milestone or key date, I'd like to collaborate with you to establish a realistic timeline that works for everyone while keeping on track. So I think that brand new response that we got from Claude's Opus 4.1, this sounds the most conversational, the most natural to me, which I think is really good and the one that I would use. But I do think that we've got a slight step up in that quality of response that comes back from ChatGPT5. Before we run through the next one, I'm going to show you how we can do some of the personalizations and the changing of colors. So if you come down to where your account is and do settings, you'll be able to see we've got all of the different information here. We've got several different accent colors here. So for example, we can now do green, come out of here, and as you can see, all of the messages are now green. So you can have a bit more customizability around what you want, but overall, I don't think this really impacts how most of us are going to use this day to day. We can go through and do some personalization if we come down here. And as we can see, we can give it some custom instructions. Now, this has been around for a while, so it's nothing new. The only thing it's changed is at the bottom here, we've now got some different traits that we're able to include in there. And this is going to include the cynic personality, we've got a robot personality, the listener, and the nerd as well. So if there's anything that you want in there, you're able to use these in the conversations to slightly tweak the output that you get. But again, these two features, I don't think that overall a huge impact to how most of us are going to use ChatGPT day to day. The next idea we're going to go through is all around generating 5 distinct and actionable strategies for some mid-career professionals to integrate AI tools into their daily workflow to boost productivity. So again, maybe we could use this in a newsletter, or if you've got a company-wide webinar, you could include something like this. Again, we'll send this response off and come through and do it for both ChatGPT 4.0. We'll send this off here, and we'll come through and do it for our Claude Opus 4 as well to see the responses this gives back. What we can see is it's incredibly quick with the ChatGPT5. We've already got that response back. Whereas going through with ChatGPT 4.0, it is slightly slower, and this is something they called out. ChatGPT5 is also between 30 to 50% faster for those responses you're getting back. Let's check out the results it gave us. So first things first, we've got around the AI-powered career navigator, leveraging AI to act as a personal career coach, which is a really common use case that Claude especially has for how the users interact with it around career coaching, personal advice. So definitely something they can use there. We've also got something around inbox 0 in minutes. Use generative AI to instantly summarize, categorize, and draft replies for your overall email inbox. Now, some of these tools are embedded already into Gemini Auto Draft, but we've also got videos on the channel as well that cover how you can build this from scratch with platforms like NA10. If we come down here, we've got meeting memory maximizer. So transform every meeting into actionable outcomes by having AI record. So that's probably more of your like Firefly's AI. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. We've got lots of videos around AI and automation. If you want to take your learning to the next level, make sure to check out our community. We've got lots of content in there that relates to AI image and AI video generation, as well as much more. Or as we can see there, Otter AI as well. Content creator on demand, so tapping into AI to draft reports, proposals, lots of different ones here. Or we've got insight into action dashboards. So again, lots of data coming through for businesses, but what can we actually do with it? The reason we tested this is because we're also checking for the hallucinations. So none of these sounded completely awful, but I think there's definitely some improvement we could do just on how that sounds to a user. If we come across, we can now see the ChatGPT on the left-hand side. It's got a slightly different structure for the description and tool. It's come up with similar ideas though. We've got inbox intelligent, meeting minutes mastered, 10x knowledge synthesizer. So this is probably one of those ideas around the content side we had a bit earlier on. Rapid prototyping, career copilot. So very similar ideas that it came up with. If we come across to the Claude Opus 4, a much more detailed response that comes back, and we can see here a few numbers, so bringing it to life a little bit more. We've got some similar ideas though, so we're looking for the digital twin. We've got the skills gap eliminator, so identifying ones that you can upskill in the future. We've got network intelligence, so this is maybe an idea around analyzing your professional network on something like LinkedIn, and then doing some personalized outreach, so maybe more that sales opportunity for them as well. Meeting multiplier systems, so using AI to prepare comprehensive brief beforehand to make the most of the meetings as well, so that's quite a good idea. And we've got some thought leadership accelerator. So I wouldn't say any of these ideas are groundbreaking. It's nothing that it's come up with that's incredibly good, but something that, again, you could use every single day, which I suppose ties into that prompt that we gave it for using it in everyday workflows as well. Now, what if we want to give it a nice, simple game to generate? As we can see here, we'll do Tetris, and we're going to add in all around the ability to do canvas. We'll send this off here and we're going to see what it comes back with. Again, it's thinking about the response before it provides it back. So there we go. And after 600 lines of code, we've got it back. Now we'll run the code in here and see what it generates. So I think that looks really good. We've got the different parts that are coming down. We can also see where it's going to be landing. So that's really good. I really like the style that it's done there. It's slightly zoomed in a bit, so we can change that. We can also bring this down so then we can play it nice and easily. We're going to be able to add some different parts in here. Let's just check it's not going to do exactly the same one every single time. No. Okay, great. So now, as we can see here, it does have some intelligence about what it's actually generating, which is really great to see. Does it have a score as well? Yep, and it's got levels, which is absolutely fantastic to see. Now let's come across to Claude and we'll see how it compares. So this is the Opus 4 one, so we're going to click into here. And we can see all of the different ones coming down. It's got the different model categories as well for the different cutouts of the shape. It does have the score as well, which is really good to see. The different levels that we can do as well. So lots of similarities between the two. It looks very similar in the actual pieces that it's generating though. It doesn't seem to have as much variance in the actual pieces coming through that we would then use to put into the base. Where, as you can see here, I think that model that's coming back from ChatGPT5 looks a bit better at the moment. So I'd probably give the point to it here. As OpenAI stated in their webinar, they're now claiming that it's the best AI coding model out there. So we'll have to see if that stands up. So now we're going to get it to go through and generate a payable web-based tool in Canvas that visualizes personal budget, should also allow me to input income, expenses, categorize them, and much more. We'll come down and choose Canvas as well, so we've got that all turned on, and we're going to send off ChatGPT5. So as we can see here, it's going through with ChatGPT5, doing the code for us. We're already over 179, so getting that written really quickly. I think one of the key skills that people need nowadays is that critical thinking, because whilst it can code, we really need to understand how it works to be able to make those improvements in the future or identify any security issues. So there we go. As we can see, it's almost 590 lines of code. So it's able to generate that really quickly. And on the left-hand side here, we can also see the different thoughts that it went through. So again, having that more human approach to really thinking through the problem before it gives that response back. So now if we come up and do run code, we'll be able to see the output. One thing to note with this is ChatGPT5 loves purple for some reason, but the other key part is every time you run this code, it's going to come out with a different style. So maybe use this to come up with an idea, and then you can go into platforms like lovable.dev or bolt.new to generate it really quickly. As we can see here, I think that looks really good. We got some different charts. We're able to hover over them, get the actual results in there as well. We've got the different entries in here, so we'll just check if it's dynamic. We can't delete them, so we would need to go through and make sure that we'll be able to do that in the future. If we come down, we'll see if we can add something. So expense, we'll say £100. The date was today. We'll add that, and it did update in here. It looks like it updated some of the other parts as well, so that's really good. But let's check out what Claude did. So as we can see here, this is the result that it came back with. We've got that purple in the background, and as we can see, lots of different income. So for example here, if I then put in that we had investments, maybe we've got $2,000, because then hopefully we should go into net savings as positive. We can add the transaction in here. It doesn't look like it works though, so it's not able to do it for some of that more complex error, and you got an error at the bottom, so it's still able to come up with a design, but maybe not able to do that full part through and test out the brand new voice model that they've got. So we'll do voice mode in here. Hi there.
Hello there. Hope you're doing well. And just a quick note, I'll make sure to use UK English spelling for everything we chat about.
So I'll just mute it for now. As you can see here, we've got the old access as well. So it's going to flip between depending on your region, which one you'll have available at the moment. But it should all be switched over by the 9th of September, 2025. Let's go through and test it out. So we've got more control on the voice. Please, can you give me a list of top 5 most inspirational quotes, please?
Absolutely, I can do that. Here are 5 of the most inspirational quotes that are often mentioned. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. Steve Jobs. It does not matter how slowly you go, as long as you do not stop. Confucius.
Can we take the example from Steve Jobs, but could you say it a bit faster, please? You said it quite slowly.
Of course, I'll speed it up a bit. So that Steve Jobs quote is, the only way to do great work is to love what you do. There you go.
Could you now slow it down super slow so I'm able to understand it?
Absolutely. I'll slow it right down for you. Here we go. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. Hopefully that helps.
Now can we change it so it's in a voice, maybe something like Jack Sparrow, and you say it in the same exact way that he would?
I can definitely have a bit of fun with the delivery and slow it down or speed it up, but I'll have to skip the Jack Sparrow impression. So I'll just say it in my own style. The only way to do great work is to love what you do, and just imagine a bit of a playful twist on it.
So there you go. As you can see, it's still got some limitations around the voice note and what it can do. One of the other great things about this is depending on the plan that you're on, you'll now be able to integrate it with platforms like Notion, so it can go through and store maybe a brain dump that you're doing and use that information in the future. But what do I think could be the driver behind some of these changes? Well, if you listen to a lot of the comments that were actually made in the OpenAI statement, what we heard is all about the personality of GPT. I think that's a really key thing. But why is it so important for OpenAI, and why they're making such a change in the quality of the output and the conversation style? Well, if we come across to the board here, as we can see, this is from SimilarWeb, so a report that came out a bit earlier this year. Overall, the traffic for generative AI tools is increasing, which is key. But what happens is as we've got into the later part of 2025, as we can see here, we're now starting to see that OpenAI's market share is starting to flatten off. So whilst the overall pie is increasing for the traffic and the payment and usage of AI tools, OpenAI has not been able to capture it as much. And that's because of, in my opinion, a lot of the personal responses that are coming back. A lot of people are starting to look at, for example, Grok or Google, because it's natively integrated, especially in Google's case, into that platform already. People especially like the output that Claude is giving because it sounds a lot more human in its output. And that's really highlighted on the right-hand side here. So 6 months ago, OpenAI had the biggest, most market share for everything to do with AI traffic. If we come across to here, what we can see is there was a big decrease over the 3 months within that period, and then it's sort of flattened out. But what we can see is especially here is that in Google, overall part of the pie has started to increase. We've also started to see platforms like DeepSeek are increasing in their market share as well. We can also run DeepSeek locally, which we can't do with OpenAI or Google. Make sure to check out my other video around Olama and how we can do that. But what we're also starting to see is that Grok and the Perplexity and Claude are all starting to grow market share, especially Claude, because a lot of enterprises are starting to shift to use Claude as their backend instead of OpenAI. Well, why do I think it was such a big change that they focused on the personality and the outputs coming from ChatGPT whilst having some other advancements in there? Well, OpenAI is around that $300 billion valuation, lots of different numbers out there. No one really knows the true value at the moment. But platforms like Claude and Anthropic, which own and operates Claude, are rapidly gaining market traction, especially in the enterprise space. And the great thing about platforms like Claude is not only are they incredibly powerful for their Opus models, but they've also got a really good conversational personality about them. And that's why I think platforms like OpenAI are now looking at what is the brain and personality and feeling that you get working with the platforms. And that's why I think they're starting to take inspiration from platforms like Anthropic and that Claude personality and embedding that more and more into ChatGPT5 so you get the output that you really want and you can use versus that generic AI feeling response that we're so used to today. But there's another thing that I find as well when a lot of people do these sorts of videos. They're not talking about the quiet competition of Meta. Now, Meta is spending hundreds of millions of dollars by poaching lots of the team that are coming from OpenAI, Claude, lots of different ones out there to join Meta and start to improve the Llama models that they've got, which of course are open source at this stage, but nowhere near the response quality of Claude and ChatGPT at the moment. But I think Mark Zuckerberg's got a lot that they're trying to do in this space and overall trying to increase their part of the pie as more and more companies look for alternative models or look to be able to self-host them more and more frequently. So what are my final thoughts on ChatGPT5? Well, I think it's a step up. I don't think it's a huge groundbreaking achievement in the next level of models. I think a lot of it is focused on that conversational style that you'll get with the model, and it's been step improvements from different areas. So I'm really excited to see how it improves and changes over time, but also, as we mentioned, how Meta, Claude, and the other leading providers out there rise to the challenge.